Welcome to this data security webinar for today, how to keep your information safe and secure. Just a short introduction from myself. My name is Adrian. I work for Skaylinks since nearly 2 years as a senior cloud solution architect. So my daily doings are the lead of big Microsoft 365 projects as an architect. And what I also do in my job is I work as a consultant for Microsoft Purview. So Microsoft Purview is the compliance solution for Microsoft. Yeah, I'm looking forward for the workshop today with you. I posted you a badge from my LinkedIn, so feel free to connect and follow if you have any more questions in advance. Let's quickly jump over to the agenda for today. First topic is I give you a quick overview about the current threats or the current challenges in data security. After that, we're gonna switch to information protection, so how to identify and control your sensitive data. Second topic would be data loss prevention. So it's a key component of your data security and should not be forgotten. Third part would be how to manage your regulatory compliance with Compliance Manager. This is the part where we're gonna switch into a live demo, so not all slides. One of the last topics is how to prepare for Microsoft Copilot. I'm not sure if any of you guys had the chance to use it before, but I'm gonna give you a quick overview how to be ready for it. And at the end, we have a quick Q&A session. Okay, so let's start with the most urgent data security challenges right now. First, on the right side here, we got a very nice picture. It's showing us a safe, and in the middle of the safe, we see a diamond. So this diamond means your data, especially your crown jewels, which is your most valuable data. So the first urgent challenge is discover your most valuable data, known here as your crown jewels. So what is next? Data security incidents. We should prevent them. What are data security incidents? We will have later a more detailed look in a real-world example. But a data security incident could be an intellectual property theft or oversharing of informations. Okay, third topic is then risky behavior. So we need to identify risky behavior. Some of you guys already do this in sign-ins to identify risky sign-ins, but we need to do this in a data security perspective. So what is a risky behavior? A user tries to download confidential files and then tries to copy them to a USB device. Okay, last topic would be make sure you comply with the regulations. So regulations mean maybe GDPR or ISO 27001. So if you maybe do not comply with these regulations, you may receive a fine or have a loss of reputation. Okay, just to give you a bit of data research by Microsoft, I guess we all know this, cyber attacks are on the rise. Perhaps some of you have already suffered a breach. What is notable is that attackers are increasingly targeting sensitive data because this is often not properly protected. I mean, we heard it before, data is your most valuable product. So imagine a hacker steals a confidential, maybe a recipe from your company. That's not what you want to achieve. So if you want to get the report, I posted you here the link. Very good report for cybersecurity professionals. I guess you get there over 130 sites of IT security from Microsoft. So from my side, a must read for IT security. Okay, But let's dive into a real data security incident example, which is called intellectual property theft. I mean, we all know this and probably all did this before, switching to another company and then exfiltrating data. Maybe you did a really nice concept of your work and now you want to move it to your new company. So what we see here in this example, the employee submits his resignation because he received a job offer from a top competitor. Now, as I mentioned, he did a really nice concept and want to bring it to the top competitor because the competitor said to him, if you bring us your secret documents, you will get a bonus of 10K. So the employee attempts to exfiltrate data. In this case, no detection or DLP policies are in place, so the data is not encrypted or not protected. So the employee can exfiltrate the data. Here in this case, he can download the data and then maybe copy it to a USB device. So the data is then be stolen and the documents are by the competitor. That's resulting in data theft because the data is stolen and then, yeah, it's gone from the company. What's the challenge in here? The company probably didn't even realize that the secret data has been stolen until it's too late because there are no detection policies in place, no data labeling. So maybe they didn't even realize that they had a intellectual property theft. Okay, but don't worry. We can resolve this scenario. Same story. Employee submits resignation and tries to download this confidential file. But now we got some protection in place. The file is labeled, encrypted, and protected with an endpoint data loss prevention policy. The DLP policy is blocking that the employee can copy the data on a USB device. So same story, employee tries to exfiltrate. What happens then? The policy is being triggered. So the employee has no chance to get the data out of the company because the policy is blocking it. We got only one scenario when the employee can exfiltrate the data if he takes a photo. That's one thing we can't restrict. Microsoft didn't prevent us a solution for this now. I'm not sure if this is possible in the future, but that's the only way in this case how data can then be exfiltrated. So exfiltrating blocked, and we can make a check mark on data security. So from my side, pretty cool how you can prevent data loss with just simple policies. Okay, as you remember, in one of the first slides, we got the most urgent data security challenges. Now let's try to fix them. First topic was discover your most valuable data, your crown jewels. How to fix this? We need to perform a data risk check. How do we perform that? We use Purview and do some content searches, maybe e-discovery searches, and use the Content Explorer and Purview to get a good understanding what data we have in the cloud. Second topic was prevent data security incidents. How to fix this? It's just simple. We implement information protection policies, which are then labeling of data, and we implement data loss prevention policies for preventing data loss. Yeah. Third topic was identifying risky behavior. How to fix this? We start managing risks with insider risk management. That's another capability of Purview. I will talk later about this. Last topic was make sure you comply with the regulations. So how to fix this? It's simple. We start using the compliance manager and do our assessments there because it's an automated system and we don't have to use Excel sheets in the future. Okay, Just this introduction to data security challenges, but let's start with the first topic now, which is called information protection. First of all, I'm going to give you a possible strategy how to start using information protection if you're not already doing this. So first step in a journey would be know your data. For me, this is the first and most important step because you need to know your data, your valuable data and your crown jewels. That's crucial for a data security strategy because if you don't know your data, you can't configure right labels, you can't configure correct DLP policies. So this is the first step you have to do. And to do this, you need to perform a data risk check. I already mentioned it. Purview has a lot of capabilities to do this. Okay, so if you know your data, we need to protect the data. So in this example, we classified the data, and now we need to protect them. This is the step where then technical information protection policies come in place. So in this step, we define the policies for sensitivity labels and how they are applied. So how they are applied, they can be applied automatically and manually. I will talk later a bit about this, but what is very important that your environment is ready for information protection. Some examples are to get your Office apps ready, you have like the new Office version and to deploy the new labeling client, etc. Lots of more topics to add. Okay, third step in this strategy is then prevent data loss. So this is also a very crucial step in this journey here, especially when using Copilot. Prevent data loss and especially oversharing of informations is very critical. So I will come later to the technical aspects of DLP and insider risk management. Okay, the last step on a possible journey here would be govern your data. So it is very important to know the regulations and what you need to do in them. So here it stands retain and delete. So you need to know what data needs to be what long retained. What should also be covered in these topics is to manage your regulations, maybe like the ISO certifications, GDPR, NIST, stuff like this. Feel free to add any certificates you want to. Okay, I already mentioned it in the beginning. My job is an architect, so I got here the information protection architecture for you. What's really important to understand, Microsoft Purview is not just a feature, it's maybe a framework or a suite of product. So it's like Microsoft 365, we call Purview a suite. Okay, but let's review this framework short. First, let's start with this topic here, the sensitivity labels. These are the labels that will be applied on documents. So you pick the sensitivity for a document or automatism will pick this for you. So for example, a Word file has a label internal. So it's in this case encrypted and only people from your company can access it. These can apply it manually or automatically, but you then labeled your data. What's really good here, and I like to mention this, these sensitivity labels are extendable via an SDK. So you can use them in your own applications if they are not ready for it. Another great feature here is you can use them directly in Adobe Acrobat and classify directly their PDFs. So it's onboarded to Adobe. Okay, here on the bottom, we got the rights management service. There you can configure the protection settings of your label. For example, you configure here the encryption, you configure here the content marking, or different permissions for different users. Okay, then let's jump over to the data classification service. This is the service how we can classify the data. For example, we got here the sensitive information types, which could maybe be a password, an Azure AD account, a credit card. Microsoft provides here, I guess, over 340 sensitive information types, which are pre-configured, which can then automatically classify data and can use for DLP policies. What's really great here, you can take these sensitive information types and configure them on your own. So maybe you said, okay, I want a sensitive information type, which is representing an employee number, so you configure your own. Okay, let's talk about the locations, how we can or who can apply information protection on which Office 365 workload. We can apply this on nearly every Office 365 workload. We can apply this on endpoints, and we also can apply this on third-party storage providers. What I need to mention regarding endpoints, we need here the Defender for endpoint deployed, but I guess some of you guys already did this in your cloud journey. Okay, what's also very nice, you can classify data which is in data lakes. It's called then here Microsoft Purview Data Governance, aka Azure Purview. So you can classify data that is in Azure or also data that is in AWS. So it's great to have these capabilities inside. Okay, so how to get started with information protection? We heard it before. Know your data is, for me, the most important step. So first step is define a label schema with protection settings. This is, for me, the first and most crucial step. Second, should be publish the labels to your end users. But first, you should start in proof of concept. And please do not forget the change and adoption aspect. I guess otherwise you will lose maybe your employees in this part of the project. Okay, third step here is then try automatic labeling with recommendations. What this does is this recommends the user a label which fits best for the document and saves you a lot of training effort. So, but you need to make sure that your sensitive information types are well configured. Okay, last part here is then automatic labeling. So it's called automatic labeling for your data at rest. So this is the last step on a possible journey. Okay, just to finish this up, I've got some implementation tips for you. So first, just get your Office apps ready to use the built-in labeling client. There are a few prerequisites to do this. There was an old technique which is called the Azure Information Protection add-in. This will not be supported in the mid of 2024. So second, enable co-authoring for encrypted documents. Most of your employees are already using co-authoring or autosave. If you don't enable this for encrypted documents, this will not be possible. Okay, and next will be restrict permissions in the label. So not everyone should have access to every kind of data. This is very important for data loss prevention. Okay, but enough for information protection. Then let's jump over to data loss prevention. For me, a key component, it should be a key component in every data security strategy. First of all, we got here another architecture of data loss prevention. So let me start highlighting some of the services mentioned here. Let's start on the left side with Microsoft 365. This is all cloud DLP, which is then service based on Microsoft 365. This is the area where most of the actions happen. We can use DLP to inform people with policy tips in Outlook, Teams, SharePoint. By sharing, we can block sharing of confidential informations or just notify them with oversharing pop-ups. In the next slides, you will see some examples how these policies look like and how these pop-ups show up by the users. Okay, in the middle, we got the endpoint DLP. From my side, it's the most important technique regarding data loss prevention. I already mentioned it. To use this, you need the Defender for Endpoint on the device onboarded to Purview. And what you can do here is then you can prevent, just an example, uploading confidential files, maybe to third-party storage providers, which could be Dropbox, iCloud, I don't know, Google Drive, or you can restrict copying on a USB device. So maybe you got the file that is labeled confidential and it isn't allowed to copy them on a USB device. But if you have a device that is labeled public, it's allowed to copy this on a USB device. So for me, a really great technique. It's also possible we can manage non-Microsoft third-party API-based apps, which are in this case maybe Salesforce, Dropbox, ServiceNow, Google. And but what we need to do there is we need to scope them to Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps to monitor, detect, and take actions when they are in use. So we need to onboard them to Defender for Cloud Apps. Then we can configure policies and monitor these third-party apps. Okay, it's also possible to protect file shares on premises, but therefore you need the Microsoft Purview information protection scanner installed on your file shares or on your SharePoint then. With policies on-prem, you can, for example, block people to access data. What's not supported here are policy tips. Okay, let's move one slide forward, which is then endpoint data loss prevention. I already mentioned it. Endpoint DLP is a great feature to prevent intellectual property theft. What I would highlight here is that you are able to use it if you have the Defender for Endpoint on your device deployed. So you don't need another agent or manual deployment, just one click on Purview, and you can protect the endpoints with data loss prevention. What's really great here, this supports not just Windows devices, it also supports macOS devices. So not just for Windows out there. But let's jump over to some examples how a DLP alert or policy tip look like. You will see some examples, some policy tips in Outlook. First here, we got a simple warning with send anyway, which is then called an oversharing pop-up. It simply tells the employee here that he's trying to share sensitive data outside of the organization, and he's asking the employee if he is sure to do this. So he got this pop-up here, and what the employee can do, he can send the data anyway, or he can cancel. But it's not a block policy. If the employee wants to do this, he will be able and can send the email outside of the organization. But it will all be monitored in the background. So second screenshot here, we got the pop-up with block, with justify and acknowledgement, and the employee can send the email if he wants to. So same story, DLP detected a risky behavior, and what happens here, it blocked it first. But the employee has the right to override it. But in this case, he needs a justification and he needs acknowledgement to do this. If he not do a justification and an acknowledgement, he will not be able to send this email out of the organization. What's great here, this will all be stored in the Activity Explorer, so you have these reports covered in the Purview portal. Okay, next will be a short video of endpoint DLP, and after that we switch to insider risk management. Okay, here in this case, we see an endpoint DLP policy. We got here 3 files and want to copy them on a USB device. So we got a pop-up here. This action is blocked because it's not allowed to copy them on a USB device. We also see here a pop-up from endpoint DLP, which can then be maybe an override policy, or it's saying that the employee cannot do this action, this copy action. Okay. In this story, the connect to insider risk management is very important, but insider risk management would be, I guess, a whole topic for a whole different webinar. So I just want to give you a short overview and highlight the capabilities of insider risk management. What is this? Insider risk is a solution to detect, investigate, and take actions on insider risk in your organization. So insider risk can include data leaks, fraud, maybe sabotage, intellectual property theft, or other malicious activities that can happen in your organization. So we got here advanced analytics with machine learning and Microsoft Graph to identify anomalous user behaviors and potential threats across your data. Insider risk management has a lot of rights in your tenant, but in order to keep data security in this tool high and to avoid employee monitoring, which is really important here in Germany, all usernames are anonymized by default. So what are the best practices and how to start with insider risk management? The first step is to identify what are the most significant risks in your business. So they must be evaluated and then protected by maybe information protection or DLP. I want to give you a possible workflow plan for insider risk management. So at first step, you should run an initial scan to find suspicious activity. So in the first step, insider risk management creates a scan and shows you what data or what activities users did in the past 14 days, which is suspicious activity. After that, you should review these anonymized results. And in the third step, you should apply proposed policies, maybe then in the area of DLP. So we see it here in this picture. It's I call it the pyramid of Purview. So at the top, we got information protection, insider risk, and DLP. So it's all connected, and these 3 technologies should be evaluated together for a good journey. Okay, just to give you a few implementation tips to data loss prevention. First of all, for companies who have work councils in Germany, please do not forget them and talk to them. Because otherwise your users will maybe feel monitored, and yeah, this is not the best to start in this journey. So also analyze what content you want to protect, and please do not forget to train your users. Otherwise they will maybe feel monitored. I will give you a few insights on data regulations. So I guess we all notice data regulations increasing around the world. What's really interesting from my side here, in my private time, I'm using Instagram for social media, and I got an update from Instagram that data regulations changed in my country. So I have to choose if I accept the terms of Instagram, which is regarding my data, or I should pay amount of money for Instagram. So I'm not sure if this happened to more guys of you. Okay, but when it comes to companies, the most companies faced with GDPR, ISO 27001, maybe HIPAA, or maybe NIST for the automotive industry. Okay. But enough with slides now. I'm gonna switch into the live demo with Compliance Manager. We are here in the Compliance Manager portal. It's a part of the Purview Center here in Microsoft 365. So let's start here at the overview page of the Compliance Manager. What pops directly in our eyes is here the compliance score over all of our tenant here. We got in this case 43%. This is not the percentage you should achieve. You should have here maybe 70 or 80%. How is this compliance score calculated? It's a mix of different regulations around the world. It has included ISO 27001, maybe NIST, some GDPR assessments, but this is the default compliance score from Microsoft to every tenant which uses Purview. So how we can improve this compliance score, we see it here on this side. We got improvement actions, which we can achieve. So maybe here we need to enable self-service password resets, which then gets us 54 points more in our journey. And if we achieve this, maybe we get 1 percentage point more in our compliance journey. Here we see another nice thing here, which is called the compliance score breakdown. So it breaks down our compliance score of our tenant in different categories. So what should be not in this case is protect against threats. Here in my tenant, I got 0% in this. So that's a sign for me I need to do protect against threats. So what I could do here now is I can view the improvement actions here. And then I switch to a different side, which is called the improvement actions. And I see here now all the improvements actioned regarding the category protect against threats. So okay, these are very detailed, maybe not the best topic for a live demo, but I'll jump into a improvement action with you. Okay, great. So here we got the improvement actions enable consistent MIME handling. It's really nice. Here we got the details page that Microsoft tells us how to implement this. So Microsoft says here we got to use Microsoft Solutions to implement this, and we need to do this in the Intune Admin Center. So we got here a good description how this is going to be done. We also got the registry key how we can achieve this, and we got here the Learn More button, and we got the perfect Microsoft Docs link for this improvement actions. What is really nice here, I'm a cloud solution architect and I'm not an Intune administrator, so I can assign this maybe to my Intune administrator in the company. And then what he does is he inserted the implementation status. So maybe he says, okay, that's implemented, or that's auto scope, or that's partially implemented. Then he does a test and provides in this test an evidence that this is really tested and that is really important for regulations. So if this is tested fully, we get the points which I mentioned earlier, and maybe get 1 percentage point more in our compliance journey. What I wanted you to show as well are the regulations parts here in the Compliance Manager. If you have the right license in this case, which is the E5 compliance add-on or the M365 E5 license, you got these premium assessment templates. So we see them here. These are 369 templates right now. they are rising and getting more, but let me search for ISO. And we see we got here 27 ISO templates, which you can use for our company. So we got here, I guess, the most important one, which is the ISO 27001. So we can do an assessment here. Okay, I'm going to show you quickly an assessment. I already prepared this here. Okay, so we see here the ISO 27001 assessment, which is the original ISO assessment. If I click on this link here, I come to the ISO site and see the original assessment from ISO. What we see here, I didn't do much, but we got 48% of assessment progress because we got here a lot of actions which are Microsoft managed points. So there are all actions Microsoft did to achieve 48% of this ISO norm. What I can do now here is have a look on controls or improvement actions, and I see here that the ISO norm is mapped into different categories. I see here what categories are passed, what are failed, what are in progress, out of scope, etc. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the ISO, but these are the exact controls which are in the original norm. So, but these are mapped especially to Microsoft 365, or I can scope them to Universal, I can scope them to Google, I can scope them to Azure. So it's more like a tool for every cloud journey I'm in. Okay. So really great. From my side, I hate working in Excel sheets when it comes to assessments. So here you get a really nice tool to manage your assessments and don't need to do Excel sheets. But if you want to export them, and maybe you have a company who manages these assessments for you and do the certifications, you can simply export them. Here, export actions, and then you will get an Excel sheet, which can then be the consultants who are analyzing this. Switching to the last topic here, which is called, are you prepared to Microsoft Copilot? So if you prepare all the stuff I mentioned in this webinar, you're definitely ready to use Microsoft Copilot. So the most important thing I need to mention here is your information architecture must be ready. So prevent oversharing of data, implement information protection and DLP policies. But the most important thing is don't overshare informations and have a good information architecture. All right. Then we can jump over in the Q&A session.